Welcome to the Mark Scott Leadership for Life Award version of John Adair's action-centered leadership model. Now, it was developed by John Adair as a leadership model, but we look at it as a team organizational model. And it's an opportunity to plan ahead, but also to analyze the way that we work together in teams. So let's get started. As a model for effective team working, Adair's model has three main focuses, and the three areas are the task, so the purpose for the team's activity. So this may be a team that pre-exists and they're given a task, or it may be a team that exists for the addressing of this task, whatever it is. It could be a practical task, organizational task, whatever, but the task is the purpose for the activity of that team at that time. The team, well, that's the team itself. So it's the group of individuals brought together to work together cooperatively to achieve that task. And the individual are the members of that team, so the individuals within it, a bunch of individuals within that team. So those are the three main focuses. And Adair says we need to focus equally on all three of those to be the best team we can be. So let's look at them individually. The task. So before we start doing something, we need to set out to achieve something. We need to define what it is. What are the success criteria? If we don't know what it is that we're trying to have at the end of this process, at the end of this task, then how can we aim for it? How can we put together all the bits that need to make it happen if we don't know what the end result is? So we need a success criteria. We need a purpose behind it so we can nuance what we're doing to get to our success criteria. We need to identify who our stakeholders are so we know who's going to be judging the success criteria, who may have their own success criteria, and what are our knowns and unknowns. So what information do we need to gather before we can know for sure what the success criteria is and exactly define what the task is. So the task is really, really important. That's a central part of this. You'll recognize some of the language we're using there. If we're looking at aims grids and planning grids, as team planning models, then you'll recognize some of the language there. Second element is the team. So we've got this task. How are we organized to achieve this task? So who are the team members? Who's responsible for what areas of the task? How do we coordinate each other and our activity? How do we decide who's going to have which task and make sure the tasks are done at the right time in the middle of the task itself? How do we communicate? How do we solve sources of conflict? And if you like, this is the fluffy stuff as well. So how do we look after each other? But how do we make sure that you do what you need to do while you're doing it, and I do my thing when I need to do it, and the two of them come together to help us solve the task or deal with the problem that we've got faced with. So how are we organized to achieve this thing? And then the final one is individuals. Just remembering that every team is a bunch of individuals. And so we need to make sure that the individuals are nourished. And this is really fluffy stuff. So what opportunities for growth are there for individuals? So can this individual within the team try this role and therefore learn and develop from it and grow? Are their skills being utilised? Are they stood there going, I've got this to offer, I really want to offer it? Or are they being asked to offer it straight away? And fundamentally, are people feeling respected, included, consulted? Are they being involved? If we look after the individuals, then they can contribute to their best, they can learn and develop and grow, and they'll be enthusiastic contributors because they're getting so much out of it. Not only will they be enthusiastic contributors for our task at the moment, but if our team doesn't have a set task but it exists and it does different tasks, then the next task they'll be up for that as well because they've learned and developed and grown during this task. So they'll be really enthusiastic team members in the future as well, and that's a really good measure. So let's put it in Adair's model in the diagram form that he uses. We're mindful of all three areas. So we're mindful of the task, so the reasons why we're working together, the output of the team's efforts, and how the success of the stakeholders will be measured. We're mindful of the team. So remembering that the purpose of the team to exist might be longer than the task that we're looking at. It defines the way that things are done, and it defines the efficiency of the activity. Do we use our best resources at the right time? We've got to look at the individuals. So how much were all the team members involved? How happy was the team? Would the team members want to remain in the team? All those kind of things. What are they getting out of it? So because the more they get out of it, the more they'll put in. So let's put those together. And we create this diagram here with that central sweet spot there, the point that we're aiming for. That point where we are equally focused on the task, the team, and the individuals. In that center bit there, we're focused on all three, so the task gets complete and it uses everyone's skills to their best. The team is efficient, so they work well, and they get the right people doing the right jobs at the right time. And the members are happy. The individuals are happy, and they're looked after, and they're growing, and they're looking forward to their next task. And Adair says if we can get the focus on all three of them the same, get ourselves in that central point there where all three overlap, then we will have the most efficient and effective team that we can have. We can also use Adair's model to look at when it doesn't work. So in this, we're going to take those three circles and we're going to look at changes in emphasis. And we're also going to illustrate that with the idea of a group of people being asked to make a cup of tea or a pot of tea in a set period of time. So I'm going to leave the room, I'm going to come back in 5 minutes time, and I would like a cup of tea. That's the task for the team. So if the team was overly focused on team, the team element of Adair's model, the task wouldn't get finished. Individuals would be frustrated with a lack of progress and wasted time. Fundamentally, lots of time would be wasted because there'll be consultation processes, setting up mechanisms, discussing everything, making sure that everybody's involved. And that's really, really inefficient if not done carefully without due regard to the other two elements. So using the cup of tea model, the tea's just not ready. At the end of my 5 minutes, the team has gone through a process to create the tea, but it took so long to consult everybody that the team ran out of time. I walk in after 5 minutes and they haven't even put the kettle on yet, and there's an empty pot lying on the side there. Okay, but everybody's been consulted and everyone's had an opportunity to share their ideas and they consulted everybody, and it's all nice and fluffy, but fundamentally nothing got done. So we need to make sure that while we do stay focused on the team, we also focus on the other two elements as well, and don't lose sight, especially don't lose sight of what the task is. So the next one, we look at being over-focused on the task. So the task is all important. Everything else is, you can forget everything else. We've just got to make that cup of tea within that 5 minutes time. So in this model, the task is most important. So the task is complete, but probably not to a very high standard. The team will work inefficiently because not necessarily the right people are doing the right things at the right time. Individuals might be demotivated by being steamrolled. Get there, do that now, we're focusing on doing everything as fast as we can. Fill up that kettle, no, get the milk. All of that kind of stuff going on, the kind of thing that really switches individuals off, so they can be really demotivated by this. And it's quite likely, as you heard there, as I give my example, it's quite likely there's an autocratic leadership style being used, and certainly people would be quite short with other people. So back and completing that model with the cup of tea. The cup of tea is ready, fantastic, if that's your only success criteria. But let's look around us, and the kitchen's a complete mess with milk and water all over the floor because it wasn't important to do it efficiently. We just needed to get water in the kettle and get it boiled and get milk out there. Not everybody's still in the room. Some people have got so cheesed off they've stormed out of the room. And really, it was only made by 1 or 2 people rushing around, and the others weren't involved at all, and they're pretty cheesed off. Okay, so the teamwork went out the window and the individuals have lost out. Our team is starting to fall to bits because we're just focused on the task. So we need to remember those softer sides as well. Otherwise, you've got your success criteria. We did that thing, You're not going to get your team to work together again after that because they just don't want to be part of it. And the third one, obviously, is going to be over focus on the individual. Again, the task won't be complete because we're focusing on the individual. We're not focusing on the task, so it's not an important thing for the task to get finished, so it's incomplete. So after my 5 minutes, I walk in, no cup of tea. Very disappointed. The individuals have completed elements of the task where they were attractive, but not all of the elements. So people were attracted to bits of the task, got on with it, because they got out of it what they wanted to get out of it, but they didn't do it with a mind to other people or other people's activity. And we didn't cover all the tasks that needed to get done because not all of them were attractive to people. So back to our cup of tea analogy, the tea isn't ready. Fundamentally, no cup of tea. The pot is full of hot water, but nobody wanted to get the milk and sugar, so they're not there. And the tea bag was fetched, but the person wanted to get the tea bag wasn't interested in putting it in the pot. So it didn't get done. We didn't coordinate our efforts, but the individuals are feeling very pleased with themselves. The tea bag fetcher is really, really happy. They got it nice and quickly. And all the people that got involved in getting the hot water, absolutely brilliant. They really, really enjoyed that. There's a little bit of fighting over the kettle, but it got sorted out. But nobody was interested in the other bits, so they didn't do them. So these are the ways that things can go wrong. And so it's really useful for us to look at this model and see if we can redress the balance while we're doing activities, or maybe look back on an activity and see where we were. And we'll finish by looking at using Adair as a tool. So can we analyse the 3 circles in performance and in reviewing our performance? So we could draw the circles and we can look back on our activity and think, where were we? Were we over-focused on completing the task? Were we over-focused on looking after individuals and working as a team? And did we forget what the task was altogether? There's some common themes in here, and especially with things like community projects, where people know they're on a personal development program, they will focus on the team because they know they've got to focus on the team and make sure everybody's working efficiently together and consulted. And they'll focus on the individuals and make sure that everybody has the opportunity to grow and use the skills that they've got to contribute, so they're feeling really, really happy. And then they forget about what the task was in the first place. So you can look at this either at the end in review or maybe partway through and just put a dot in there. Where is the team right now? If it's not in that central spot, how can we get ourselves there? How do we redress that and regain the efficiency, the team working? The focus on the task and looking after individuals in order that we can be an efficient team that completes the task the best we possibly can and want to work together again tomorrow. And that's it. Thanks very much. Good luck.